What if your darkest side held the key to your greatest strength? Welcome to MindLens. Today we're diving into Carl Jung's shadow, the part of ourselves we often deny, ignore, or project onto others. By the end of this video, you'll understand what the shadow really is and why it matters, how to spot your projections and fears, practical practices, from journaling to active imagination, that help you integrate this hidden self. Embracing your shadow isn't about becoming dark. It's about reclaiming lost energy and wholeness. So get comfortable, and let's begin by defining exactly what Jung meant by the shadow. Voiceover, calm, explanatory. Carl Gustav Jung coined the term shadow to describe the unconscious part of our psyche made up of traits, impulses, and feelings we hide or deny. It's everything we label as wrong, shameful, or simply unacceptable. But the shadow isn't inherently evil. It's simply the side of ourselves we refuse to face. Picture someone who prides themselves on being calm and collected, yet finds themselves snapping at a partner over nothing. That sudden anger is their shadow erupting, an impulse they repressed until it bursts free. Or imagine a person who publicly condemns arrogance, while privately craving attention. That craving, too, lives in shadow. Jung believed the shadow forms early, as we learn which traits win approval and which bring criticism. We tuck away the bad parts, aggression, jealousy, vanity, and carry them into adulthood, unaware of their power. In dreams, the shadow often appears as beasts, monsters, or dark figures, a symbolic representation of what our waking mind tries to ignore. Importantly, the shadow also holds creative energy, raw passion, and untapped potential. When denied, it leaks through self-sabotage, projection onto others, or chronic anxiety. But when integrated, brought into conscious awareness, this energy can fuel artistic expression, deepen empathy, and drive personal transformation. In the next section, we'll see why owning your shadow matters more than ever, and how ignoring it can cost you dearly in relationships, work, and mental health. So let's move on to discover why the shadow is your most important inner ally. Voiceover, motivating, thoughtful. You might wonder, if the shadow is so uncomfortable, why bother? Because what we don't face controls us. Every time you react with unexplained rage, sink into self-doubt, or feel a surge of envy, that's your shadow dictating your behavior. Relationship conflicts often stem from shadow projections. You accuse your partner's selfishness when in fact you bottle up your own needs. Workplace stress can veer into burnout when you deny anger or perfectionist drives until you crack. Creative blocks arise when you suppress bold ideas, fearing they're too out there. Jung called individuation the journey of becoming whole, and the shadow is central to that journey. By naming your hidden impulses, you reclaim wasted energy. Anger becomes assertiveness. Envy becomes motivation. Fear becomes intuition. Integration doesn't mean indulging every whim. It means acknowledging those parts so you can choose your response. Studies in modern psychology confirm people who practice shadow work report lower anxiety, better emotional regulation, and more authentic relationships. They no longer need to defend an idealized self-image because they accept their full humanity. Remember, every trigger is an invitation. That coworker who annoys you, a mirror for your own impatience. That critical inner voice, a shadow part begging to be heard. In the next section, we'll learn to spot these projections and start turning triggers into growth opportunities. Let's explore how projection works and why it's the first step toward freedom. Voiceover, analytical, supportive. Projection is the mind's defense mechanism, an unconscious redirection of our own disowned traits onto others. Instead of admitting, "I'm jealous," we cry they're envious, rather than face our own discomfort. Common shadow projections include judgment, harshly criticizing others for faults we secretly harbor; victimhood, labeling ourselves powerless while we secretly crave control; perfectionism, demanding flawlessness in colleagues to avoid our own mistakes. To spot projections, watch for intense reactions. If someone's minor misstep triggers outrage or disgust, pause and ask, what is this really stirring in me? The real answer often lies in the shadow. Exercise the trigger journal. Note the moment you feel a strong reaction. Write down the event. Your immediate thought, they're so arrogant, and then a deeper insight. I fear being seen as arrogant myself. Over days or weeks, patterns emerge. Your blind spots become clear. Mirror work is another powerful technique. When you catch yourself accusing someone of a negative trait, look in the mirror and say, I accept that part of me. This simple act acknowledges your shadow and weakens its grip. Projection isn't a flaw, it's an opportunity. Each time you own what you once denied, you reclaim energy for conscious choice. In the next section, we'll learn practical tools, like journaling prompt and active imagination, to transform these insights into real growth. But it all starts with spotting your projections. Congratulations on taking that first step. Voiceover, clear, instructional. We've seen that projection sends our disowned traits onto others. But how do we catch in the moment? Two simple yet powerful tools are the trigger journal and mirror work. 1. Trigger journal. Carry a pocket notebook or phone app. Each time you notice a strong emotional surge, anger, disgust, envy, pause and jot down. Event. What happened externally? My colleague interrupted me. Reaction. Your immediate thought or label, they're so rude. Shadow insight. What might I be denying in myself? I fear being dismissed or unheard. Over days, review entries. Look for recurring themes. Who triggers me most? What word repeats? That repeated word often points directly to your shadow. 2. Mirror work. Stand before a mirror, look into your eyes, and speak your projection back to yourself. If you accuse someone of selfishness, say aloud, I accept my own selfishness. This moment of radical honesty dissolves the unconscious defense. Once you own it, projection loses its power. 3. Inner dialogue. When you catch a projection, pause and ask, what am I refusing to see in myself? Listen for the first feeling or word that surfaces. That's your shadow's invitation to awareness. By combining real-time journaling, mirror affirmations, and self-inquiry, you transform triggers into insights. You reclaim energy once wasted in unconscious blame and shift from reactivity to conscious choice. In the next section, we'll deepen this work with journaling and reflective prompts that integrate these insights into lasting change. Voiceover, supportive, reflective. Journaling is more than note-taking. It's a direct line to your unconscious. Let's explore 3 advanced journaling formats designed for shadow integration. 1. Free-form stream of consciousness. Set a timer for 10 to 15 minutes. Write continuously. I feel, I fear, I wish. Don't censor. Let the shadow speak. Notice themes. Anger, shame, envy. Highlight any unexpected insights. 2. Dialogic journaling. Divide the page into 2 columns. Left conscious self, right shadow self. Pose questions from the conscious self. Why do you hide? What do you want? Let the shadow self answer in writing and censored. Then switch roles. Let the conscious self respond with compassion. 3. Prompt-based journaling. Use targeted prompts to unearth hidden material. What qualities in others annoy me most, and could they be mine? When have I sabotaged my own success, and why? What childhood memory still stirs shame, and what lesson lies there? Spend 5 to 7 minutes per prompt, then pause and reflect on the emotional tone. Integration reflection. After journaling, write a 1-sentence summary. Today I discovered. Choose 1 actionable insight. Tomorrow I will practice owning my impatience by pausing before I speak. These journaling practices go beyond daily logs. They become a workbook for the psyche, turning fleeting reactions into mapped territory. Over weeks, review past entries. Witness your evolution from unconscious reactivity to mindful presence. Next, we'll bring these insights alive through Jung's active imagination technique. Voiceover, imaginative, guiding. Jung's active imagination invites dialogue with your inner images, transforming unconscious content into conscious insight. Here's a step-by-step practice. 1. Create a quiet space. Sit comfortably, close your eyes, and take 3 deep breaths. Let your mind settle. 2. Set intention. Ask, show me one aspect of my shadow that needs attention. State it aloud or in your mind. 3. Observe visuals. Allow spontaneous images, scenes, or symbols to appear. Don't force them, just observe. You might see a locked door, a dark forest, or a looming figure. Notice colors, shapes, emotions. 4. Engage. Ask your image, who are you? What do you represent? Listen without judgment. Record any words, feelings, or visual details. 5. Dialogue. If a figure speaks, respond in your mind. I hear you. How can I help? Continue for 5 to 10 minutes, alternating questions and listening. 6. Return and record. When ready, open your eyes and immediately write down everything. Images, dialogues, emotions. Reflect. What messages did my shadow send? How can I apply this insight today? Benefits. Uncover symbolic wisdom that rational thought can't reach. Strengthens your relationship with unconscious parts. Transforms vague fears into concrete guidance. Next, we'll deepen this process with a structured shadow dialogue, writing a back-and-forth exchange that cements integration. Voice-over, conversational, empathetic. Shadow dialogue builds on active imagination by giving structure to conversation. Here's how to do it in writing. 1. Set up your page. Create a 2-column layout in your journal or digital doc. Left, conscious self. Right, shadow self. 2. Start the conversation. In the conscious column, ask a direct question. Shadow, why do you feel angry today? Switch to the shadow column and write whatever emerges, images, feelings, or a single word like rage or fear. 3. Alternate voices. Respond from the conscious self. I hear your anger. I accept you. Shadow replies with the next line, perhaps a deeper motivation. I protect you from feeling helpless. Continue for 6 to 8 exchanges, letting the dialogue flow without censor. 4. Reflect. After the exchange, review both columns. Highlight any shifts, moments when shadow's tone softens or conscious self gains insight. Write a brief summary. Today, my shadow showed me that my anger guards my vulnerability. 5. Integration steps. Identify one action to honor this insight. Perhaps you allow yourself a safe space to express frustration, like a quick journaling break or a conversation with a friend. Shadow dialogue turns abstract fears into concrete conversations, deepening your relationship with yourself. In the next section, we'll put all these practices into action through shadow integration. Voiceover, encouraging, practical. Integration is about using shadow energy wisely rather than rejecting it. Let's explore 3 pathways: creative expression, assertive communication, and intuitive trust. 1. Creative expression. Identify a shadow theme you've uncovered, anger, envy, or shame. Channel it into a creative project. Paint abstract forms of your anger. Write a poem about your envy. Compose music reflecting your shame. The goal isn't perfection. It's release and exploration. By giving shadow a voice, you reclaim its energy. 2. Assertive communication. When you feel a shadow impulse, like suppressed anger, practice I statements. I feel frustrated when my ideas are interrupted. I need space to finish my thought. This transforms raw emotion into clear requests, reducing passive-aggressive patterns. 3. Intuitive trust. Shadows often manifest as fear. Next time you feel afraid, pause and ask, what is this fear trying to protect? Journal the first answer that comes. Let it guide a small experiment, like speaking up at a meeting. Notice how facing fear with compassionate curiosity builds confidence. Integration ritual. Create a shadow journal. Dedicate a section for integrated insights, your creative outputs, assertive statements, and intuitive prompts. Review weekly. Celebrate where shadow energy became a resource. By actively expressing, communicating, and trusting your shadow, you transform hidden blocks into catalysts for growth. Next, we'll see this in action through a pop culture case study. Voiceover, storytelling, vivid. Few characters illustrate shadow integration better than Batman, aka Bruce Wayne. His shadow is rooted in childhood trauma, the murder of his parents. Rather than deny his rage and fear, he channels them into a masked persona that fights crime in Gotham's darkness. 1. Trauma as shadow. Young Bruce represses grief and anger, which manifests as nightmares, symbolic shadow imagery. Instead of letting rage consume him, he forges it into discipline, training his body and mind. 2. The mask. The bat cowl is a literal armor, allowing him to express shadow qualities, fear, aggression, without harming his conscious identity. It's a psychological tool. He owns his darkness and uses it to protect the innocent. 3. Allies and boundaries. Alfred acts as Batman's conscious self, reminding him of compassion and balance. Without Alfred's grounding, Batman risks becoming the very terror he fights. This highlights the need for internal and external support when working with your shadow. 4. Lessons for us. Your shadow may feel overwhelming, like a force that could turn you into a villain. But Batman shows that with structure, ethics, and companionship, shadow energy becomes a tool for purpose. Identify your personal cowl, a practice or object that helps you consciously channel strong emotions, martial arts, artistic projects, or therapy. Next, we'll close with simple daily rituals to keep your shadow work alive, turning insights into sustainable habits. Voiceover, warm, action-oriented. To make shadow integration a habit, weave these daily rituals into your life. 1. Morning grounding. Upon waking, spend 2 minutes in silence and affirm, I embrace my whole self, light and shadow alike. Visualize carrying your shadow energy as a source of strength, not shame. 2. Midday check-in. Set a reminder at lunch. Ask yourself, which shadow impulse have I noticed today? Journal a quick note. Did you feel envy, frustration, fear? How did you respond? 3. Evening reflection. Before bed, revisit your trigger journal and shadow dialogue entries. Write one sentence. Today, my shadow taught me, and one action. Tomorrow, I will. 4. Weekly creative session. Dedicate 30 minutes each week to creative expression. Art, writing, movement. Focus on a recent shadow insight. No judgment. Let the process be raw and exploratory. 5. Accountability partner. Share a weekly shadow insight with a trusted friend or therapist. Externalizing your process brings clarity and prevents stagnation. These rituals transform shadow work from a one-time exercise into an ongoing journey. Over weeks and months, you'll notice greater emotional balance, richer creativity, and deeper compassion for yourself and others. Conclusion and CTA. Thank you for exploring shadow work with MindLens. If you found value here, hit like, subscribe, and ring the bell for more Jungian insights. Share your experiences below. What was your most surprising shadow revelation? Until next time, keep shining light into your dark corners, and remember, wholeness is your birthright. Congratulations on taking your first steps into shadow work. Remember, your shadow is not an enemy but a neglected ally, full of energy, creativity, and wisdom. By recognizing projections, journaling fears, and practicing active imagination, you reclaim wholeness and free up inner resources. If this video resonated, give it a like. Subscribe for more deep dives into Jungian psychology, and let us know in the comments which shadow practice you'll try first. Share this with someone who needs a little light in their darkness. Until next time, keep exploring MindLens, where psychology opens your eyes